Welcome to another Battle of the Bands, where we pit one band against another band, and we go up from the debut album all the way to the latest album, seeing which one's the best. And we've done it before with Metallica and Slayer, and some other bands that I've completely forgotten. I think Bolt Thrower was one of them. But today we are doing the legendary Incantation versus Immolation. The whole debate between the two bands, which don't even sound similar, so I don't know why there's a big debate anyway, but hey, they have the same number of albums, so let's go! You know how it goes. Before I get in with my ranking for this one, or what I think's better, pop down below. Who's going to win for you? Which album tops for you? So at the debut, which one's the best, and then the sophomore, and then so on, so on, so on, until you get a winner of your favourite band of the two. Let's get started with the debut. So, Dawn of Possession versus Onward to Golgotha. Two classic death metal masterpieces. This is easily the hardest one. It's the hardest one. It's the hardest one. I love both these albums. I could pick either of them, and it'd be good. So this one's ridiculous. It goes down to like sound quality. Do you want the more evil sounding Dawn of Possession, bit more simpler but more evil, or do you want the more kind of death doomy kind of sound of Onward to Golgotha? It does come down to that. It's down to the wire. I think for me, as much as I love Immolation, Incantation's Onward to Golgotha is slightly better. It's slightly better for me because I know what Immolation becomes, and I much prefer the newer sound for them. But yeah, I'm not saying that Dawn of Possession is bad, because I think it's one of the best death metal debuts of all time, but sorry, Incantation made a better one. Incantation, Onward to Golgotha. Next up we have the Mortal Throne of Nazarene versus Hereinafter. Yep, two more classic albums. What the hell's going on here? Yep, this one's ridiculous as well. And I know I've got an Incantation. I got both these bands' rankings on my channel. I've ranked both these bands, and Mortal Throne of Nazarene is actually my favourite Incantation album. It is. It's my favourite Incantation album. And Hereinafter I didn't quite have as high for them, but I love it, and it's a masterpiece. It is a lot darker and a lot doomier. It's probably the doomiest Immolation album, which does kind of factor into it. It's a lot of people's favourites. I love both, but I'm going to have to go with Incantation again. Mortal Throne of Nazarene. The early Incantation is just hard to be beaten. Mortal Throne, masterpiece. Sorry, Immolation. It feels like I'm picking on you. Let's go to the next one. Diabolical Conquest versus Failures for Gods. Both amazing albums as well. Like, the early career in both these bands are just flawless. And I don't want to be bullying Immolation again, but Diabolical Conquest is a goddamn masterpiece. Failures for Gods is good, but Diabolical is winning for me. Incantation wins again. It's 3 in a row. It doesn't mean that's going to be a landslide. We'll wait till we get to later on. We'll wait till we get to later on. But yeah, Diabolical Conquest, a lot of people's favourite Incantation album. It's one of mine as well. I could easily put it number 1. So yeah, sorry Immolation, it goes to Incantation again. Now we have the Infernal Storm versus Close to a World Below. Now this one's a bit easier, because this one's going to my boys Immolation, Close to a World Below. Yeah, I do like both albums, but there's a clear winner on this one, because Close to a World Below is a fucking masterpiece. It's a black and death metal edge to the Immolation sound, which I love. I adore it. It's one of the best Immolation albums they've ever done. It's a masterpiece. It's got the darkest sound they've ever done. I much prefer it to the fucking the free ones that were just mentioned. I do. I think it's better than Hereinafter. I think it's better than Dawn of Possession. Oh, it's a masterpiece of an album, and I love it to pieces. And if we were going to pit that against the 3 first Incantation albums, I'd still pick the Immolation one. So, be that as it may, Immolation wins easy. Next up we have Blasphemy versus Unholy Cult. Now, I really like Unholy Cult. It's not my favourite, but I do really enjoy it. But Blasphemy is my least favourite Incantation album. I think they dropped the ball on that one, and I know it's they quite like it, the band quite likes it, but I'm not a big fan of it. The production on it is just bad. Yeah, the sound of it is just terrible. There's a fucking joke song on it. No, I don't like it that much. I know it was a big finger to the record company or whatever, or the producers, but yeah, not for me. It's not for me. don't really like that album, so this is an easy winner for Immolation. Now, Harnessing Ruin versus Decimate Christendom. If I've said that right, Christendom. I don't think I said that right in my video either when I ranked them, but both pretty cool albums, both not the best by the band, but both pretty interesting. But I do think there's a clear edge to Immolation on this one, Harnessing Ruin. I do think I prefer the songs a little bit more than Decimate. Not saying that Decimate's bad, because compared to Blasphemy, it's a masterpiece. But yeah, Immolation takes the biscuit with this one again. Next up, Primordial Domination versus Shadows in the Light. Another one where it's kind of like by a hair, but again, Immolation is winning this one. Later on, Immolation is just knocking the ball out of the park, because the first couple of albums, I'm like, yeah, Incantation fucking nails it, and then kind of drop the ball a bit, and Immolation picks up the ball and starts running with it, because they're on a home run at the moment, because all these albums are fantastic, and Shadows in the Light is one of the best Immolation albums, so yeah, I love it. Next up, we have Vanquish in Vengeance, which is a really cool album. Really enjoy that album. Even has like a massive long song in it. Quite dark as well, that album. Versus Majesty and Decay, where Immolation kind of changed into this proper groovy, just every riff is catchy kind of band. Kind of like Bolt Thrower. Gotta go with Immolation. Immolation, yep. Immolation again. Majesty and Decay is a great album. Love the album cover as well, with the big statue on it, but the riffs in here just pummel the shit out of Incantations. It's ridiculous. Like, this album, even though I love Vanquish In Vengeance, I think it's such a moody album, Majesty and Decay kicks the shit out of it. I'm sorry, it just does. It's one of my favourite death metal albums as well, so yeah, I adore it. It's easy. Immolation for this one. Next up, Durges of Elysium versus Kingdom of Conspiracy. This one, I love both these albums. This is another hard one. Some of those were easy. Immolation mops the floor, but this one's a bit hard. I think Durges of Elysium is such a grimy and just interesting and cool album. And Kingdom of Conspiracy, although riffy and technical, I prefer Majesty and Decay, so I think I'm going to give it to Incantation for this one with Durges. I just love the grimy nature of this one. Kind of like Sect of Vile Divinities, but I think I prefer it a little bit more. Yeah, I'm going to give it to Incantation for this next one. Next up, Profane Nexus versus Atonement. Both fantastic albums. Love Profane Nexus. I think later Incantation is fantastic. Middle I was a bit iffy on, but later is fantastic. But Atonement is my favourite Immolation album of all time. And my favourite album out of every album we're going to talk about here. So it's going to go with Immolation. The riffs on here are just mouth-watering. They just blow your eardrums up. I love them. Atonement's my favourite. Fuck it. It's easily winning this one, Immolation. And last but not least, the two latest ones, Sect of Vile Divinities, which is a grimy, disgusting, lovely bit of death doom, versus Acts of God by Immolation. And Acts of God came out quite recently as well, but it's been stuck in my head the entire time, and it may be my album of the year. Immolation wins, and I don't even need to tally up the results because Immolation's won fucking like 8 of them out of 11. So Immolation is the winner for this one. Acts of Cruelty, Acts of God. Yeah, Immolation wins. Yeah, so that is Battle of the Bands, Incantation versus Immolation. I love both bands, but I feel like the mid part of Incantation held it back a bit. Whereas Immolation is solid throughout. No downsides, no... Well, there is upsides. Most of it's fucking upside. But yeah, you know what I mean? It's more consistent. So yeah, overall, Immolation is my favourite out of the two. What did you think of my list? How would you change it? Let me know down below. And we'll see you again on another Quest for Metal.